There are moments in history when an empire realizes too late that power does not make you invincible. Moments when ambition blinds experience, when arrogance silences caution, and when tens of thousands of men march confidently straight into annihilation. In 53 BC, Rome was the most feared military force on earth. Its legions had crushed Gaul, humbled Spain, subdued Greece, and bent the Mediterranean world to its will. And yet, in the endless plains of Mesopotamia, a single decision, one man's decision, would lead to one of the most catastrophic defeats Rome had ever suffered. This was not a battle Rome lost slowly. It was a trap, a suffocating, inescapable ambush that dismantled an entire army piece by piece until hope itself was ground into the dust. At its center stood Marcus Licinius Crassus, the richest man in Rome, a member of the First Triumvirate, a man who believed wealth could substitute for wisdom and numbers for strategy. By the time the sun set near the city of Carrhae, over 20,000 Romans were dead, 10,000 more were enslaved, and Crassus himself would meet an end so symbolic that it echoed through Roman history as a warning against unchecked ambition. So ask yourself this: how did Rome of all powers, walk blindly into a desert ambush it could never escape? And how did Crassus, a man who had everything, lose not only an army, but his legacy? This is not a misclick. This is the story promised by the title. This is the ambush that destroyed Crassus on time's battlefield. Marcus Licinius Crassus was not born a great general. He was not forged in the fire of legendary campaigns like Caesar, nor sharpened by hardship like Pompey. Crassus was forged in something far more dangerous: success without restraint. By the mid-1st century BC, Crassus was obscenely wealthy. His fortune came not from conquest, but from exploitation. Property seized during Sulla's proscriptions, fire-damaged buildings bought cheap, rebuilt, and resold for profit. In Rome, money was power, and Crassus had more of it than anyone alive. Yet for all his gold, Crassus lacked the one currency that truly mattered in Roman politics: military glory. Pompey had Spain, Caesar had Gaul, Crassus had nothing. The First Triumvirate, Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus, was never an alliance of equals. It was a balance of envy. And Crassus knew it. Every triumph Caesar celebrated tightened the vice around Crassus's pride. Every cheer for Pompey reminded him that wealth alone would never earn immortality in Rome. So Crassus looked east. Beyond Rome's borders lay Parthia, an empire wealthy, distant, and misunderstood by Roman strategists. Its lands promised riches beyond imagination. Its kings seemed disorganized. Its armies, barbaric, or so Crassus believed. In 55 BC, through political maneuvering rather than merit, Crassus secured the governorship of Syria. This was not a defensive post. This was a launching point. The Senate did not approve a war with Parthia. There was no provocation, no insult, no invasion. This was a war of ambition, pure and simple. Warnings came quickly. Local kings urged caution. Veteran officers advised delay. Even ominous signs, eagles refusing to fly, storms disrupting marches, were recorded by Roman historians as ignored portents. Crassus dismissed them all. To hesitate was to admit fear, and fear, Crassus believed, was for lesser men. In the spring of 53 BC, He led roughly 40,000 Roman soldiers across the Euphrates and into hostile territory, without reliable maps, without adequate cavalry, and without understanding the enemy he was about to face. Waiting for him was a force unlike any Rome had ever encountered, and at the center of it stood a Parthian general named Surena. Crassus believed numbers would carry the day. Surena was counting on something else entirely. The desert was already closing in. Crassus believed he was marching toward a conventional war, infantry against infantry, shields against shields, a clash of mass and discipline where Rome had never failed. What awaited him in the Mesopotamian plains was something entirely different. The Parthian Empire did not fight wars the Roman way. They did not rely on heavy infantry formations, grinding advances, or close quarters dominance. Instead, Parthia had mastered mobility, deception, and psychological warfare to a degree Rome had never encountered. At the heart of their military system were two forces: horse archers, light, impossibly fast, and relentless, and cataphracts, elite heavy cavalry encased in armor from head to hoof, men and horses transformed into living weapons. This was an army designed not to clash, but to erase. Commanding it was Surena, a nobleman of immense wealth, influence, and military brilliance. Unlike Crassus, Surena did not underestimate his enemy. He studied Rome carefully and understood its strengths well enough to avoid them entirely. Crassus's first critical mistake had already been made before the battle even began. Ignoring safer routes along the Euphrates, he allowed himself to be guided deep into the desert by a local chieftain, Ariamnes. A man's loyalty was questionable at best. The terrain grew flatter, drier, more oppressive. Water sources vanished. Heat crushed morale. The legions marched in a massive hollow square, an unusual formation that sacrificed flexibility for perceived safety. It was a formation built from fear, not confidence. Then the dust appeared. At first, it looked like a storm on the horizon. Then came the sound. Drums, deep, rhythmic, echoing across the plain. The Parthians announced themselves not with banners, but with noise, a deliberate tactic meant to unnerve, to dominate the senses before a single arrow was fired. The Parthian army did not charge, they circled. Horse archers rode close enough to provoke, then retreated just beyond reach. When Roman skirmishers advanced, arrows rained down with terrifying precision. This was no harassing fire. This was sustained annihilation. Parthian archers carried composite bows of immense power, capable of punching through Roman shields and armor. And unlike Rome's auxiliaries, they did not run out of ammunition. Camel trains followed behind them, mobile supply lines, ensuring the arrows never stopped. The Roman response was confusion. Legionnaires attempted to close ranks, shields locked, formations tightened, but the tighter they packed together, the easier they became to hit. Every advance was met with retreat, every pursuit turned into exposure, and every moment under the sun drained strength, morale, and hope. Still, Crassus hesitated. He had one opportunity, one narrow window to adapt. That opportunity was his son. Publius Licinius Crassus was everything his father was not. Young, charismatic, battle-hardened, he had served under Julius Caesar in Gaul and earned real respect from veterans who trusted him. And now, seeing the disaster unfolding, Publius begged his father for permission to act. Crassus finally agreed. Publius was given command of the cavalry, roughly 4,000 men, including Gallic horsemen and light infantry. His mission? Drive off the horse archers and relieve pressure on the legions. It was exactly what Surena wanted. The Parthians feigned retreat. Publius pursued, further and further and further, until the Roman infantry was nothing but a distant shape on the horizon. Then the trap closed. Surena unleashed his cataphracts. Armored cavalry thundered forward, smashing into Publius's isolated force, while horse archers encircled them completely. There was no escape, no support, no mercy. Roman discipline collapsed under the weight of an enemy that would not stand still long enough to be fought. One by one, Publius's men were cut down, wounded and surrounded. Knowing capture meant humiliation and torture, Publius Crassus chose death. He ordered his armor-bearer to kill him. The Parthians severed his head, and then, calmly, deliberately, they mounted it on a spear. As the sun sank lower, Surena sent messengers toward the Roman square. They did not attack, they displayed. Publius's head was raised high for all to see, a message without words. The effect was catastrophic. Crassus broke. Witnesses describe him as silent, hollow, unable to command. The army felt it instantly. A Roman general's greatest weapon was not the sword, it was authority, and Crassus had lost it. Nightfall saved the remnants of the legions from immediate destruction. Under cover of darkness, they retreated toward Carrhae. But retreat is not escape, and Surena was not finished. Darkness did not bring relief. It brought disintegration. As night fell over the plains near Carrhae, the Roman army was no longer a unified force. It was a mass of frightened men held together by habit rather than command. Crassus gave the order to withdraw, not a retreat in formation, not a controlled maneuver, a flight. Wounded soldiers were abandoned. Units lost contact with one another in the darkness. Officers shouted commands that dissolved into the night air. The Parthians did not pursue aggressively. They did not need to. They knew where the Romans were going: Carrhae. The city loomed ahead like salvation, a fortified refuge, walls, water, and safety. But it was also a funnel, a narrowing point where escape became impossible. By dawn, nearly 10,000 Roman soldiers had been separated from the main force. Many were cut down where they stood. Others surrendered. They would never see Rome again. Crassus reached Carrhae physically intact. Mentally, he was ruined. Roman sources describe a man unrecognizable from the confident commander who crossed the Euphrates. He refused to speak, refused to plan, refused to lead. The surviving officers, Cassius Longinus among them, took control in all but name. They urged Crassus to abandon Carrhae under cover of night and flee toward Armenia, where friendly forces might provide refuge. Crassus agreed. Too late. The Parthians were already in motion. At first light, Surena approached Carrhae, not with an attack, but with diplomacy. He sent envoys bearing olive branches and calm voices. They claimed Parthia wanted peace, that this war was unnecessary, that Rome could withdraw safely if Crassus would simply negotiate. This was not mercy, it was manipulation. Surena understood Roman psychology perfectly. A Roman general, defeated but alive, would cling to dignity, to order, to procedure. Crassus hesitated. His officers did not. The legions were restless, terrified, convinced negotiation was their only hope. Under pressure, from his men more than his enemy, Crassus agreed to meet Surena. It was a fatal mistake. The parley took place on neutral ground. Surena arrived in splendor, rich robes, polished armor, absolute confidence. Crassus arrived weary, guarded, hollow. Accounts differ on what happened next. Some say Parthian soldiers deliberately provoked violence. Others claim Roman officers panicked. What is certain is this: chaos erupted. Crassus was seized. In the struggle, he was killed. Whether by blade, by trampling, or by execution remains unclear, but his death was immediate. The richest man in Rome died not in glory, not in battle, but in confusion and betrayal. Surena was not finished. According to later Roman tradition, molten gold was poured into Crassus's mouth. "Drink," they said. "Satisfy your thirst for wealth." Whether literal or symbolic, the message was unmistakable. Crassus's head and hands were severed. They would be used as props in a Parthian royal performance, mocking Rome on a stage thousands of miles from the Tiber. The Roman army collapsed. Those who escaped did so without cohesion. Those who surrendered were marched east in chains. The survivors, around 10,000 men, were relocated deep into Parthian territory, near the borders of Central Asia. Rome would never recover them. The defeat at Carrhae was more than a military disaster. It was an existential shock. Rome had lost legions before, but never like this. Not so completely, not so helplessly. For the first time, Rome faced an enemy it could not simply overpower. Crassus's death shattered the First Triumvirate. The fragile balance between Caesar and Pompey collapsed. Within years, Rome would tear itself apart in civil war, and all of it, every assassination, every legion raised against fellow citizens, can be traced back to this moment in the desert. Carrhae did not just destroy an army, it destroyed restraint. Carrhae did not end when the swords fell silent. Its consequences unfolded slowly, like a wound that never healed. When word reached Rome that Crassus was dead, the reaction was not immediate outrage, it was disbelief. Rome had lost battles before, Rome had lost armies before, but Rome had never lost an entire war so completely, so humiliatingly, and so far from home. The Senate searched for someone to blame. The people searched for meaning. What they found instead was fear. Crassus had been more than a general. He had been a counterweight. His wealth balanced Pompey's military prestige. His ambition restrained Caesar's rise. With Crassus gone, the First Triumvirate ceased to exist, not by decree, but by reality. Pompey returned to Rome stronger than ever. Caesar, across the Rubicon in Gaul, watched carefully. The lesson of Carrhae was clear to both men. Power belonged not to law, but to legions. Within 4 years, Caesar would march on Rome. Within decades, the Republic would die. Carrhae did not cause Rome's collapse. It removed the last barrier preventing it. Rome's defeat was not inevitable. It was engineered, decision by decision. Crassus failed where great commanders succeed. He ignored intelligence. He dismissed terrain. He underestimated an unfamiliar enemy. But most dangerously, he confused confidence with competence. The Parthians exploited this perfectly. They never met Rome where Rome was strong. They denied close combat. They denied rest. They denied certainty. And above all, they attacked the Roman mind before they destroyed the Roman body. Carrhae was not just a military ambush. It was psychological warfare executed with absolute precision. For generations, Roman standards captured that day remained in Parthian hands, a symbol of humiliation. Augustus would later negotiate their return, not through war, but diplomacy. Even then, the memory burned. From that moment forward, Rome would treat the East differently, more cautiously, more brutally. The line between defense and domination blurred, and the endless struggle between East and West, Rome and Persia, was truly born. Crassus entered history believing wealth could buy glory. Instead, his name became a warning, not of cowardice, not of weakness, but of unchecked ambition. He did not die because he was poor in skill alone. He died because he refused to listen to allies, to soldiers, to reality itself. And that may be the most terrifying truth of all. The greatest defeats are rarely forced upon us, they are chosen. On the plains near Carrhae, tens of thousands marched beneath Roman eagles, believing themselves unstoppable. They were wrong. History does not favor the strongest, it favors the prepared. And on that battlefield, Rome met an enemy who understood this better than Rome ever had. This was the ambush that destroyed Crassus. And this is time's battlefield. If you found value in this story, if you appreciate deep, cinematic history told without shortcuts, like this video to support the channel. Subscribe to Time's Battlefield for more untold battles and forgotten turning points. Share this with someone who thinks Rome never lost. And in the comments, tell us, was Carrhae Rome's greatest military failure or its most important lesson? Until next time, history is never over. It's only waiting to be remembered.